Hello and welcome. My name is Katsu, and thank you for joining me tonight in a project I've been working on for quite some time. I will be playing Frostpunk, and I've tried to tweak the difficulty a little bit. So this is going to be a challenge run. I'll explain what I do, when I do it, and why I do it. And this should be pretty entertaining if you're both into this game and potentially into making it more difficult. So let's go over the rules. I'll be playing the main story, A New Home, and I will be playing it on survivor mode. That means, first of all, let's switch it off and show the other options. It's going to be on the most extreme settings, that is equivalent to survivor, but it will also not allow me to save and reload, and that's a kicker, because usually you can't do that. You can, because you don't know what 5 or 10 days in advance is gonna happen, so you can reload, go back a little, and then prepare yourself for whatever you were not prepared for. I won't be doing that, but some of you might have already done that. That is a challenge, but not such a big one, so I decided to add a few more things. First of all, I will not be building any of the hunter hats, the houses, you know, that you use to make food. Instead, I will go for hot houses. I will not use any of the shift policies, because I think the first thing you see anywhere when you're going through a guide for this game is overtime, extended shifts, 24-hour shifts. That stuff is awesome. It is awesome. It also makes the game a lot easier, especially when you're taking up. So I won't be doing that either. I will also not use child labor, because that policy gives you a bunch of extra workers early on when you can use, you know, the additional gathering strength. So I won't be doing that. And I will also do this whole thing deathless, like nobody is allowed to die throughout the run. But you can do deathless and you can keep your colony small. I won't be doing that either, so I will do a full refugee, full survivor intake run, so everybody who comes to the city is welcome to stay, and I have to keep them alive. And I will also try, but that is an optional challenge, basically, to prevent all of the Londoners from leaving the city. I have no idea if that's gonna work. That is just, you know, tight as fuck, so to speak. I think it's self-explanatory that I will not be using any glitches that are in the game you could use. I won't be doing that. And I hope this is gonna work out. I have made it work already, you know, with playing the game, and I've sort of worked on the build order and stuff, but I haven't done it on Survivor. So we'll see how this goes. I'll start and I'll explain everything along the way. Enjoy. So I'll let the intro run for a little bit, because there are a bunch of other things I want to go over. First of all, I'm pretty much following a set build order for this. This is not something you can do when you're improvising on the fly, or you're just, you know, doing whatever you feel is important as a next step. There are a few things I need to do in particular at certain points throughout the run that are absolutely necessary, otherwise it's not gonna work. One of these things might be that I have to restart the whole thing. If I have to do that, I'll cut the video and show you how it looks from a different perspective. The reason for that is the map is randomized at the start, and you can get different scouting locations. That is kind of an additional criteria, because I need to have the crash site location as one of the starting locations, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to keep everybody alive and fed. I will try, if that is not the case. It is possible to do this if you get the crash site as a secondary scouting location, but if that doesn't happen either, there's no way to do this. So bear with me if I have to, you know, cut it short at some point. It's disappointing. So I'll want to go with full RNG, but if this is not possible, I'll switch. And the other thing, I'll be doing a bunch of things at the same time when I start this run that are actually quite important. The allocation of workers to the different tiles matters. I put 6 on steel and the rest goes on wood. And I'm also not building anything in the first day. I'm just launching the policy right away because I need to start this ASAP. Literally the minute you start the game, because that determines at which minute in the game you will get your third policy, which is soup, which I absolutely need.
We bid farewell
and then a bunch of other things are gonna happen. I'm gonna build mostly at night. I'm gonna follow, like I said before, a set plan, and I'll explain a few little quirks and mechanics along the way that I found quite helpful when you're mastering this game. Those are all the little things you don't really need when you beat the game normally, but for what I'm trying to do here, some of these things actually are sort of crucially important.
Step by step.
One side note I want to just throw out at this point, the developers have done a marvelous job at this game. I think I love this sandbox of a builder that gives you a set challenge. I love the art of the intro, you can see that's why I'm letting it run as well. And I also love their Easter eggs. You should take a look at Reddit if you're interested in that. So let's go. First day, very important. Very important to get this done as quickly as possible. So we're starting with the policy right away. Sustain life. I'm starting sustain life because I'm interested in getting overcrowding as quickly as possible. Because that means you can do with 2 medical stations instead of 3 early on. That gives you an extra workshop to speed up your research. I found this to be the strongest start out of all of these. And I mean, I'm not allowed to get emergency shift, that's part of the rules, and I'm not allowed to get child labor. So out of all the other options, soup I don't need yet, that is just not good, that is for later, and we're also not gonna get cemetery ever, because nobody can die, so it's useless. So this is what we're going for. Sustain life. Also, of course, I mean, keeping people alive in the medical posts is pretty much a mandatory condition, just a safety net for us. So let's do that. Then 6 workers here, full here, full here, 14 here, and 15 there. That's it. That is just important to get this, to do this actually as fast as you can, because you need to get your workers going. And if you don't do this right away, they just spend time being idle, and it actually matters how much resources we gather in this first day, as we need beyond 140 something. So that was the important part. I can speed it up now, because I'm not building anything in the first day. Why? Because if you start building something, your workers stop working and they move to the closest building. That means you lose time that you can spend could have spent gathering resources. So I found this to be way better. Just not build anything. Just let them harvest. They are getting a little bit sick, but we can take care of this. We will build all the gathering posts later on, but like I said before, I will be building at night mostly. Because you'll see why in a second. They're all doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're reaching the end of the workday, so now I'm starting to put down the buildings. I'm placing 8 tents so we get everybody in there. This is a 6-wood road followed by a gathering post, which we will staff from the wood here. Then we will also place down our first medical post, and then we'll do a little bit of sort of special construction management here. The layout for this is also, I also worked out over time. 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to the right, because also you need to plan in advance where you place your buildings. So this is the workshop, the first one. We take out the roads, we take one because we need 20 wood. Why? Because I want to build another road here for the second gathering post. We built that soon after. And I need 10 more for the first technology. I'm taking 10 engineers out of this because I need 5 for the medical post. I can speed it up again. And go through all of these because they're not helpful. One thing, I think I built the houses a little bit too fast. Otherwise I would have gotten a message here to provide shelter for everybody, and if you do that you get a little bit of extra hope. You kind of want to get that because it's basically free. Mistake on my part, won't do it again. First policy is beacon, no question about that. Maxing the engineers here. And we're staffing our first gathering post. That's it for the first day. So we end up with a pretty, solid layout overall. It's all built at night, so we didn't lose any gathering time. And we have the second policy coming in immediately. We also have the first sick people, they're taken care of. And the next policy, again, overcrowding. That means our sick people are taken care of. They're all in here now. No problem, nothing to worry about. And I'm just paying attention to these policies because the third one is soup, and we need that at a very specific time. So, next thing, we're pretty much done with this day, and we're gonna start gathering again. Here we switch a little, we add 4 more workers. You can pretty much you also want to switch at night so that they're not changing where they are on the fly. And we also want to make sure that we're harvesting this the piles here first. I want to keep this post a bit longer than this one. So now next day starts. We have a little bit more on steel now because we want to get the next gathering post out as quickly as possible. And let's see how this goes. So I'm speeding it up again. Unfortunately we have sick absences, that is bad. It's really bad if you have them in the workshop. Then you need to do something to switch people, but we don't. So that's good. And here I'm reaching the 15.5 that we need for a gathering post. Now there's another thing. What you want to do is you want to first take off your workers, then you want to build, because building needs the workers to be physically at the location. And if you leave them here and then you just build it, what happens is the game will take workers off wood from here and other places because you have more on your bank account, basically. And they will walk all the way over here to try to finish this building, which is super inefficient. Plus, we want to staff it from here anyway, so this is pretty much mandatory. So, there we go. Now, we got the second gathering post. Workshop is busy researching, sick people are being taken care of, and resources are coming in. And that's it. I'm not doing anything else today, because it's just not worth it. I mean, I've tried it, I tried all sorts of build orders, and the problem is as soon as you take your workers off what they're actually doing, you lose a lot of income. So we just let it run, and we build again at night. Technology policy, this is going to end up at 76. And then we're good. For the second night, what we're going to do is we put down another medical post. We add another gathering. What's it called? Gathering post? Yeah, gathering post. This one goes over here. Taking out the unnecessary road again because we need all the wood we can get. And we're adding a second workshop. Here we start again shrinking the buildings because we need the space at this location later on. Let's let's see. Can be a bit tricky at times. It's a very annoying system. I want to meet the developers and punch them in the face for this, but oh well. Nothing we can do about that now. There we go. So we again take out the road because saving. We also do a few more things now. I put down the cookhouse because I have the time to build it now, actually, which is a good thing. And I'm also placing... no, actually I'm not doing this. I would sort of start the road layout for whatever is gonna come after this, but I can spare to not do it at this point. What I absolutely have to do is I have to get my engineers out of there because they need to go in the other workshop. What I'm doing here is I'm doing a 4-1 split so that both posts are manned, but I'm only using 5 engineers because I want to focus on research in the beginning. Okay. So far, so good. I apologize for going into this in so much detail, but this whole run pretty much depends on the first 5 days. Like, the first 5 days have to be flawless to get to your hothouse, your first one. And if you make any mistakes or you mix any of the build orders here, then you're pretty much done for. You don't recover really in this. There's no point. So the other thing I'm gonna do here, we have 10, so we are a little bit ahead of schedule. So I'm leaving it at 10, but I'm not leaving them there. I'm putting them on the other pile. Come to that in a second. And I'm gonna staff this one with another 10. And this one with another 10. Because the next important thing that's gonna happen, we have the layout set so far, day 3. We have our beacon technology coming in. And that gives us the ability to build the beacon, which unfortunately takes 35 steel and 20 wood. So we need to make sure that we have that on our account once this reaches, once the technology tree, the research hits 100. We're gonna ignore our hungry people for now, but it's important that we're not having any gaps in our research at this very start. Later on there's a little bit of slack, but right now there isn't. So the night is passing pretty much uneventful. We have our people where they're supposed to be. So we're now speeding it up again until they start gathering and until we reach here our limit. It pretty much works out. So we are at 35, which means we don't need those anymore. And we're not putting them anywhere else for now because we want to build. So the beacon I put down here immediately. And we keep gathering because once this is done we need 40 wood. We're also going to start the next technology, which is going to be Steam Hub. It's better than heaters because we can cover a whole area that we need it on. And it's just overall the most logical choice. You need some sort of heating before this temperature drop hits. You also need to start gathering coal, which we are, which is good. And then you need to be need to have the beacon done. I'm putting the workers already on wood because this is tight. Like, we have the beacon now, but we don't have the wood yet. We have the crash site. Okay, so that is RNGesus was on our side. This can be pretty horrible. You have a bunch of choices here. The Lost Expedition you get all the time because it's part of the story, but instead of the crash site you can also have the observatory or the gloomy cave. The observatory is a location with people in it, and it can lead to the crash site. The gloomy cave has bears in it and people, and it has a chance of actually killing your scout, so you can never go there first. The crash site is in fact the best location because it has food and it has wood, and it makes this whole run... I mean, the other options wouldn't make it impossible, but this makes it... brings it within the realm of achieving it with a little bit of luck. So now we're at 35, gathering wood, and we're also close to finishing this policy. So what we're doing now, clicking this away, is also pretty tight. So 41 means we're gonna take these off. We're gonna send 5 of our workers in form of the scout to the crash site right away, ASAP, and we take the other 5, get the soup policy here, and then we allocate them in that order. No changes, because they start transforming food immediately when you put them in there. They don't have to be there physically. As soon as you allocate them to the building, it starts converting. And you want to have the soup policy first to get enough food out of your first 50 raw rations. It took a while to figure that out, don't ask me. Anyway, so that's what you want to do. That is the, I call it the beacon switch. That is, it's key that this works out. After that, you can relax a little bit more, because what we're doing now is we need to get everybody inside before it gets really cold. So we're just gonna, actually no, we are not gonna anything because it's still 4 o'clock. So we wait until they finish gathering and we get the full income from the day. At this point we don't have anyone on steel anymore. We only have these 10 guys here. I will put them here next. And once the workday is over, there we go. Slow it down again. Extend this road by 2 and put down an additional gathering post. This one is important because soon we're gonna start using coal. And I was mistaken, I'm not gonna put them here, I'm gonna put them in here, the 10 workers that used to be on this wood pile, because by the start of day 4, which is fairly soon, everybody needs to be inside. It's getting cold. And yes, you can still gather, you can still harvest your piles and stuff, but it's a really bad idea. It's still giving you resources, but it's gonna make your people sick so fast. You don't want to do that. You want to keep everybody inside. Also, putting somebody in the gathering post is always more efficient than putting somebody on the pile. So far, things are solid. Oh, I wasted one piece of wood. Never mind. Everybody's inside. We can speed up a little bit more again. We'll see where our scout ends up. 2 hours, pretty much the same. And around 5 AM we're gonna start our generator. That is because it takes a little bit for the generator to heat up, like as you can see here. And if the temperature drops, you're not heated up, then you will get a bunch of sick people right away. You don't want that. So, scout arrived. Let's explore. Like I said, wood and raw food rations. Gloomy cave next. Okay, we're gonna skip that, but that's fine. So we're gonna get this guy back. And now we know in about 7 hours we're gonna have 160 wood coming in and 47 food. That means we're fine in terms of the food. I mean, we are almost out of rations, but nobody's starving yet, and people can starve for a long time in this game. And once we got that going, we can move towards the next important steps. So the heater's on. The next policy is gonna come in, and now we have to make some choices. We got these 3. These are mandatory, but now we can make a choice. We can either go child shelters to rush this tree, or we can go corpse disposal and rush organ transplants. This is gonna take a bit of pressure from your medical base. This is gonna, well, force you to build a building, which costs resources. The snow pit doesn't, and it also speeds up your research. I am gonna go, this time, I'm gonna try out corpse disposal. I usually go shelters because of the added research speed, but I'm gonna just mix it up. They're pretty much, both routes are pretty equivalent. There we go. So, corpse disposal is on its way. I'm not building it now. Because, well, again, it's day. And we have 4 hours until we get a huge bunch of resources. So until then, we don't have really anything to worry about. I'm gonna speed it up again. And let's see where we end up. So, we got our Steam hubs. And we're at 45. So, let's go to the technology so I get some time. If you're in the technology tree or the policy tree, or you're building something, or you are in the game menu, the game is still paused, even on Survivor. So, here I could either wait for more and build the upgrade to tier 1 technology a little bit quicker, because 4 wood is gonna come in faster than my scout over there. Yeah, it is. We're gonna just wait for one more tick. 50. There we go. And we're gonna upgrade to tier 1. That means, and that is pretty much, we kind of have to rush that. We had a choice of going for sawmills first, but we're gonna get so much wood coming in that we can wait a little with this. But we do not want to wait whatsoever with getting hothouses, because those are our only source of food in the base, and you can only get, like, I think 3 scout locations that have food. So we need to get that. We need to rush that. Our scout is back. We want to send him out right away to the Lost Expedition. Gloomy Cave, like I said, is not an option for the foreseeable future. And now we have a huge bunch of resources. It looks like a lot, actually, but it isn't. So the only thing we're gonna do now is something we need to do now. And we need to take 5 guys off this, because we need to build the steam hub as soon as possible. As soon as this is not heated, the cookhouse, people are not eating. And we have about 4 hours left on the clock, so let's hope this works. It's super tight. So now, Steam Hub is online. Switching this to work hours right away. And the guy's back. But now, food conversion is on. That is important. People, they're not gonna die. They could have survived another day, because they could have survived another 3 or 4 days. What am I talking about? But it's just nice to have this going when you can. So, again, we have a bunch of resources now, but we don't really need to build that much. The only thing we need to build, and it's good that I remember, is the snow pit. We are going to do that. Workday is up, so we don't have to wait anymore to put down buildings that are not extremely necessary. And we put it here in the corner. You can put it here or pretty much anywhere that you're not gonna heat up, but this area, the snow pit and everything around it in the future is just gonna be for my resource depots. And I know for sure no heater is ever gonna be built here. That's not the case in this area. This cold homes heating thing, you don't want to take these. It's gonna cost it's gonna cost you a bit of hope, but you're not gonna get this. It's just too risky that your temperature drops at some point. And I might try going for this in the future, but you can't reach 2 days. I mean, we don't have heating technologies, and overdrive doesn't last that much. So again, no point. This guy we can dismantle, which is great, because we're gonna get resources back, and we're gonna get 10 people back. We're not gonna put them anywhere at this point, because we don't have locations that are not heated, and we have enough resources here. So what we are gonna do instead is we're gonna start our layout of roads for this part of the city. Again, we need roads for about 4 houses. I'm not gonna spend any more wood than that, but I have to put these roads down before I build the houses. Otherwise I can't do the shrinking afterwards. That's just how you have to do this. And I also don't want to have any houses in the first ring here, only in the second and the third. That is just, I think, a personal preference, because I need to have the medical posts there so that they're all in one spot. But in terms of where you place your buildings, you're flexible to some extent. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one goes away, and one more. Why one more? Because we're the 5th. Oh, that was wrong. You have the location where we're gonna put the steam up in a second. So there. We connect these. This is connected. There we go. Okay, that's it so far. Not much more to do at this point. We can put the houses down, but it's gonna take some time before the new arrivals get to the city. So let's not waste time, let's speed this up. The next important thing that happens is a scout arriving. There they are, survivors. Now, you could bring them home. That would cost you some scouting time. Or you could just let them find their own way, and we're gonna do that, because as long as I've played this, they've always made it. So 4, 22, 10. I'm just gonna write that down. 4, 22, 10. And we'll see how many of them make it. It's a personal experiment, to be honest. If some of them die, that would be unfortunate, and I would never do it again, but it hasn't happened so far, and I want to just know what the chances are. I'm sending the scouts to the sturdy shelter next, because that's another location with food and wood. The observatory is people, and you gotta be a little bit careful in the early game how many people you're getting. Excuse me, to drink something. Alright. So we're good. Next thing, Book of Laws. We got a policy coming in. You always want to make sure you do these on cooldown. And that is organ transplant, which is like the best policy ever. It makes all your medical posts more efficient. It is passive, so you don't need to worry about anything. And it's independent from actually having corpses in the snow pit. See? 20% efficiency across the board. That is just huge. It's gonna help us with these 2 posts being enough. And we have about 11 hours to prepare for the arrival of these people. It's still night, we don't really have anything better to do. We're pretty much good on coal consumption, so generator is fine. What we want to do next is prepare for the arrival of these people. So you can see here, it's 36, right? 36 people. That means we need 4 houses. Let's build them. 1, 2, 3, and I apparently made a mistake here that I'm gonna fix, which is annoying, but there's really... You have to fix this. Sometimes this... What the hell? Okay. Sometimes this shrinking process doesn't work in specific locations on this map. Don't ask me why, but it is problematic here. And it is also problematic in this area. Here it really sucks to place houses. It doesn't work either. But we have a little bit of space to spare here when we're placing them, because until this point we can easily fit 3 more with shrinking. Let's see if this works. Oh, what the hell. Don't ask me why this sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. It makes no sense. It is super annoying. But that's how it is. So you want to put the roads down, but wait for later. And since we got new arrivals, it's always good just to be safe. You want to add one more medical post. We're gonna reallocate a little, but we want to make sure everybody is covered when they arrive. Now there's also kids, there's also children among there, so 15 plus 4 means we need shelters. We haven't researched them yet, but we're gonna do that soon, and I can also start preparing the road layout for that.
Get going. Time to earn your bread.
So you can do this with a workshop, because the workshop has the same shape, a flip workshop. Flipping you do with the middle mouse button, if you didn't know. And you just want to get this one road down there. That's it. That's all you need. These 2 blocks. So that whatever you build fits in between these two. And I can test this again with a workshop. Fits once, fits twice. There you go. I'll also start preparing the road layout for the second workshop, which the third one, sorry, which I'll have fairly soon, and we're good. 5 hours left, everything seems to be ready. We have not more sick people than we could handle. We still have food, and we have another load coming in fairly soon. Because, like I said, another location, this time even with a steam core, of wood and food. The sturdy shelter. We could make it to the steel bridge, but I'm not gonna risk it. So I'm gonna head back right away. There we go. Okay. Now technology is done. Level 2. We're gonna start with a hothouse right away, because that's what we came for. Which means our workers, some of them will be idle when they arrive. That is a problem, but not a huge one. And there they are. So, let's see. We now have 19, that's 4 kids. Yes, we have another 10 engineers, and we have 22. So nobody died. Okay. They're all in houses already, and now we have 10 engineers left over, basically. So we're building another steam hub here. I could have done this already here at this location for the houses. And we're also gonna build workshops, because basically as long as you're covered in the medical post, you want to put all your engineers in workshops. So one more there, and the others we're going to put in the medical posts, because now we have actual sick people. They came in with the new arrivals. You always have some there. We have more people now. They are out. They have been out. So I'm gonna just add a bit more stuff to the medical posts. There they are. I see. Workshop is gonna be finished at night. And we're good. At this point, we're gonna build another gathering post, because now we really have too many people who don't do anything. Before, we didn't really need that much more coal. I could have built it a little bit earlier when I had the resources and the people, but there's not much lost. There's not much loss if you don't put anything in the workshops at night either, because they only work during the day, since we don't have extended shifts. So we're good. And this looks pretty stable so far. This looks actually way more stable than the last try I did. And we just got another 100 food. Plus, we now really have enough wood. We're gonna go back down here. And now we just basically wait, dismantle. No, actually we don't dismantle this because we're full on wood. And we're gonna put down a few more houses. 1, 2. Oh, my mistake. This is something that you need to keep in mind. The problem with this layout here is you need to do the inner things before you do the outer things. Like otherwise you can't go back there and do any shrinking. Shrinking, by the way, I forgot to mention, but it is basically that you're moving a house back, put a road down so that you sort of establish a frame in which the game then fits the house. And that works sometimes, but not other times. Whoa, this is tilting me a little. I'm sorry. But it is really important that you get the appropriate amount of buildings in this area. What the hell? Okay, I have no idea what's going on here. Okay, so I figured it out. I'm gonna cut I'm gonna cut the part and add this. So what happened? Why I couldn't place a building here was because I had built the road and not just, you know, put it down like this. That's a road that's supposed to be built. There, it's a road that's supposed to be built, so it's part already of the pretty much the boxing mechanism that readjusts the size of the buildings. But if you actually build it, the road, it gets larger, and that calculation changes apparently. So scout next location, no question. I fiddled around a little bit with the buildings here, had to take down a bunch of them, but that's okay. Now we got hot houses. Before we do anything, we're gonna make sure technology continues, and we still have a huge amount of wood lying around. After hothouses, we're gonna start with steelworks. We're gonna postpone the sawmills a little, but not too much. And we have another policy, and we always wanna prioritize these to child shelters.
Everyone, new law is signed.
2 of those, because we now have more than 15 children we need to take care of. And we need our hothouses like ASAP. We have hungry people, not too many, but we're gonna get them regardless. And we're gonna start one here, and we're gonna add another one here, simply because we will need a bunch of them anyway. And that layout so far has worked out quite well. But what I'm doing here is I'm gonna start another one of these shrinking things. I'm sorry this is annoying. I know it. I hate it as much as you do, but there's not much you can do about it. You can either do this and have nice layouts that work and save space and are economically efficient, or you can't. And then around turn 35 you will look at an ugly city that doesn't work out anymore. So unfortunately it's a bit frustrating. So that we got. We also need another steam hub. Now that we placed the building, we can see its range. There we go. It also covers this little guy, which is great. So we're doing this right away. Hothouses are now in place. They will be staffed soon, because we have the 22 people just waiting for that job, basically. Coal income is still fine, so we're good. And with basically the construction of these 2 hothouses, it is time to conclude this video. Because quite honestly, this is the most difficult part. Just this first 45 minutes, more or less. I mean, it's faster if you don't talk. Sorry for that. But once you got this going, and you have the hothouses in place, gonna just pause for a second. Once you are this far and you have a bank of resources and you have a scout who's on the way to get your first automaton, you are mostly out of the woods, I would say. This worked out really well, I think. We got lucky with the crash site location, and it puts you in a fairly comfortable position, I would say. You can see in the sort of the weather outlook is fine. It's gonna get a little bit warmer, which is gonna take care of our sick people. Then it's gonna get cold again, but not colder than it is right now. So we're looking at a few stable days essentially. And I will continue this in the next video and go in detail over how you get from here to the Londoners. Thank you so far for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments or send me a message or find me on Reddit, or anyway, I'll be there. If you have any ideas on how to improve upon this, please let me know as well. And thank you so much again for your time. It has been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to next time. Take care.